Hello all, good afternoon. Thank you for joining this session today. Myself Shweta and my colleague Anil will be presenting a session on deep dive on vSphere lifecycle management. Like you all know, it's a vast subject, but with the limited amount of time we have, we'll try to cover touch base on the critical areas of LCM. So this will be the agenda for the next 30 minutes. Firstly, I'll be giving a brief on the introduction on the LCM, and then I'll familiarize all you with the LCM terminologies, and then I'll talk about the vSphere LCM methodologies which we have currently. And I'll hand it over to my colleague Anil to talk about the ESXi methodologies. And last but not the least, the crux of the session will be the best practices, where we'll talk about the do's and don'ts of LCM so that you have a seamless upgrade experience. So coming to the introduction, like we all know, it's a very critical operation and customer has to plan on his data center, and it especially requires a specialized skills so that a lot of things can go wrong if you have not planned it well. So security fixes and bug fixes and features are part of the releases, and if you want to hop onto such releases, you need to perform an LCM operation. So there are a lot of flexibilities and variations which VMware provides to perform these operations and challenges thereof, which we'll be talking in the upcoming slides. So basically there are four terminologies: install, upgrade, update, and migration. Firstly, install is for those users who do not have any trace of history of vSphere installed on their environments, and they're doing a fresh deployment of vSphere product on their environment for the first time. And upgrade is pretty different. You already have some version of vSphere installed on your machine, and if you're trying to upgrade to the next available major version, you're doing a major upgrade. And it's basically a brownfield deployment, and it ensures that your settings and configurations are retained and the new features which are coming up with the new release is accommodated here. So if you're doing an upgrade from 6.5 to 7.0 or 6.7 to 7.0, you're basically doing a major upgrade. And update, patch, and minor updates are all synonyms, and it's a lightweight compared to major upgrade. So if you're hopping from one version to the another in the same release line, and you're basically doing a minor update. So if you're hopping from 7.0 U1 update 1 to 7.0 update 2, it's a minor update which you will be doing in your environments. So these three are specific to both ESX and VC, but one particular LCM terminology which is specific to vCenter server is migration, wherein VMware allowed installation of vCenter server on the Windows machines, initially on 6.5 and 6.7 lines, but we have deprecated with 7.0 release line. So if you want to migrate from 6.5 and 6.7 Windows deployed vCenter servers to the appliance-based 7.0x appliance-based vCenter server, then you have to basically do a migration here. So quickly jumping into the terminologies which we spoke about in little detail. So like I said, it's a greenfield deployment if you're doing a fresh install, and the deliverables are vcsi-all.iso and the vim-all.iso with the version which you're trying to install and the build number tagged to it. So this is the entry point for any deployment which you do. And there are two types of modes which you can deploy with. One is the GUI mode, wherein this is mostly for the users who look for a user-friendly way of providing their configurations and settings for the deployments. And CLI is mostly for the silent deployments, wherein you're looking for automating your deployments. You provide all these configuration settings in a JSON file and then trigger our CLI installation. So that's the different modes which we talked about, and the process is pretty straightforward. There are two stages which are involved in vSphere LCM installation. One is the deployment of your appliance, which is done through a tool called as OVA, and the second is starting of your services with the configurations and settings which you're given in stage 1. So that's about quickly on the installation. And upgrade is a brownfield deployment where you're hopping from one major to the other. The entry point remains the same. The ISO is the same which we talked about previously also. And I'll not get into the modes, it's same which we talked earlier. But the process is little different here. The stages are same, the stage 1 and stage 2. But the difference here is that you already have a source appliance with a different version already installed on your environment. So a new target appliance will be created with the new version which you are trying to upgrade to. So that's the first thing which happens, and the target appliance will have to have a particular temporary IP address which is attached to it. As part of stage 2, the data from the source machine will get migrated to the target appliance. So you need to ensure that your temporary IP which you have deployed for the target machine is accessible by your source machine for the data transfer to happen. So that's what happens in stage 2, and once the data migration finishes, your source machine gets shut down and the same IP is being provided to your target appliance here. Quickly coming to migration, the deliverables are still the same. The only difference here which we spoke about in the major upgrade and migration is that your source installation is basically on a Windows machine, and you have to extract the migration assistant which is available as part of our VCSA ISO image, and you have to extract that and start it on the source Windows vCenter server. So once it is started, as part of the stage 2, the data transfer happens and your new appliance is ready for use. Last but not the least, the update is the very critical operation. It usually, the releases have security fixes and bug fixes as part of this. It's pretty lightweight compared to your major upgrades. So the deliverables are also pretty different. It's patch-epi.iso or the update report.zip, which you have to download from our portals. Just make sure that you don't use the full ISO which you downloaded for the installation. That doesn't work for your patching. You have to use our full patch.iso for doing patching operation. So basically there are 3 modes of deployment. One is through GUI, which is through the virtual appliance management interface we have, commonly called as VAMI, which runs on the 5480 port. And CLI, we have our software-packages tool, which is entirely available for you to do your patching. And API is done through the publicly available APIs. So there are 2 modes which you can do also through the online patching and offline patching. When I say online patching, it's hosted by VMware. All these RPMs and the manifest files which you actually need are hosted online, and you can connect to that particular Akamai server and then do your patching using either GUI, CL or API. And if you're doing an offline patching, you have to do it through the patch FP ISO or the updated repo.zip, whether attached to your appliance or download the update repo.zip on an external server and do your patching. So the process is again a little different here compared to major upgrade and migrations which we spoke about. The first one is the stage where you download all your RPMs and validate your checksums if the RPMs are downloaded correctly. And as part of the install phase, the pre-checks are done and the RPMs which you downloaded in stage 1 are installed as part of this process, and the services get started as part of this. So please ensure that you don't look for major upgrade versions as part of this VAMI listing of the versions, because only the minor versions are listed as part of this. Quickly, a summary on what I just spoke about. So the deliverables which are available for install, upgrade, update and migrations, and the supported modes. Just a quick snapshot on what we just discussed. I'll quickly hand over to my colleague Anil to continue with the ESX LCM.
Yeah, thank you, Shweta. Hi everyone. As Shweta mentioned, LCM is very critical, and all of you who are attending must be engaging yourself with LCM in some way or the other. We'll be talking about ESX LCM, and these are the quick snapshot. The different methods of LCM using which different methods of upgrade methods using which you can do the ESX LCM. One is your graphical user interface. It is pretty straightforward, and if you have couple of ESX server, let's say you're starting with a new data center or existing data center, you're adding a few ESX hosts, you can use the GUI, which is very simple. But if you wanted to automate, you can go with the scripted install, and then you have auto deploy for a reimaging, then ESX CLI. Starting vSphere 7, you all be knowing about vLCM is a new feature which is a very centralized way of managing your ESXi server LCM. And then update manager is a very famous feature which you all been using till 6.7, and which is not seen from starting 7.0. Now primarily we will talk about vLCM today. We will not go deep about other LCM methods. If you have questions on other LCM methods, we will take it offline outside of this talk because of time constraint. And we all know till vSphere 7.0, we have been using update manager as our preferred tool for host patch and migration, host update and host upgrade. Now vLCM comes from vSphere 7. Now you will be all thinking, what happened to my update manager? Now update manager functionality, which is the baseline and the baseline group, still exists with vLCM. vLCM can support baseline methods of managing your ESXi server upgrades, as well as it has provided you an alternative approach of whole lifecycle management, wherein it creates a centralized image which is more controlled, and also it enforces at the cluster level for a seamless upgrade experience. I'll just quickly take, if you see in this image, once you upgrade your vSphere to 7.0, you can still see baselines. That means your update manager way of upgrading and managing it still exists. And then you have to convert to the image option, which we'll talk about what does mean by image option. And yeah, now coming to vLCM, introduction to vLCM. What is vLCM? It's basically, these are the 5 different traits using which you can explain the vLCM. One is your declarative image. So a VI admin has its own control what kind of image it needs, which is not available in your update manager. Now as an admin, as a VI admin who is managing my data center and LCM, I need to control what ESXi's version I need, what firmware update I need, and what custom add-on I need, and then create a custom image out of it, and that will create my declarative image, desired state image. And if I wanted to change my desired image, let's say I'm in vSphere 7 update 1, and then I wanted to go to update 2, I should have that control. I can always change my desired image, and I can say my cluster go to this image. Like it will show you the drift, and then you can always go and apply yourself. Then next year, full stack firmware upgrade. So till now in update manager, this is not supported, and vLCM is the new feature which is supporting your full stack. That means you can upgrade your firmware also. It's not just the software part of it. You can control your PCI devices, storage IO devices, BIOS, and for that you have the firmware upgrade options as well. And then starting the cluster itself, when you're creating your cluster, at the same time you can say, I wanted to use with the vLCM image itself, and you can take the advantage right from beginning. Your vLCM image consists of 3 important things. The most important thing is your ESXi version, which is nothing but your ESXi base image, which is installable on its own, and that's the only primary important mandatory thing. Next is your firmware and drivers. You can always integrate an HSM. HSM is your hardware support manager, which is provided by Dell, Lenovo, HP and all. You can download it as an OVF, integrate into your vSphere environment, and then it can download all your firmwares, whatever required firmwares it can download, and using that you can create your vLCM image. That is optional. And third is your vendor add-ons. Vendor add-on is something you are getting additional component, async drivers, driver components. Some of the tool like HP, Dell, they provide async drivers, management tools, monitoring tools. So all those components you can install as part of your add-on and create the image out of it. So these are the primary 3 things which is needed as part of your vLCM image. Now, why we need vLCM instead of update manager? Now, as a VI admin, we all be knowing it how to manage my ESX lifecycle and all. And the moment you grow your organization, it is very tough. Like maintaining or upgrading your ESX host is very easy when it comes to the software level. But I have different hardwares. I have a scattered hardwares. Few hardwares at certain component level, and few hardwares will be at certain component level. Now you are asked me to upgrade ESX. What about my firmwares? I have to separately manage my firmwares. I have to separately manage my LCM of my firmware, and it's a very painful process. And due to all these challenges, sometimes you delay your LCM, which is not good because you will end up with some security issues and all. So to smooth and to fill that gap, we have introduced with vLCM, which is very holistic, and it includes all your software, your firmware, and your async drivers, and you can include everything and together and create an image out of it. Then vLCM acts at cluster level. vLCM cannot be applied at individual host level. The benefit of it is enforcing you to bring your cluster at the same level for all firmware, your ESXi image, and your drivers. You cannot keep one host at this level and another host at other level. So that's again, it's kind of enforces you and makes your life easier. If you don't have network, or if you have a network using a proxy server, you can always import your vLCM image or update manager images offline and import it manually. This is a quick video wherein we are converting a cluster from baseline managed to image managed. It's very quick, it's very easy. You just have to go to your cluster view, then go to click on update, and then convert it. And while creating your image, you have the option of selection. You have ESXi version, then drivers, components, uh, and yeah, and as I told, only the ESXi version is mandatory, rest of all are optional. You can just click and this will just complete your time. Yeah, this is a quick comparison between VUM and vLCM. I'll just talk about the cross ones, wherein firmware and driver updates is not supported in Update Manager, wherein vLCM do support that. Import and export of images. So once you create your desired state image, you can always export it. That will be like an ISO image. You can manage in other clusters or inside the same vCenter, or you can take that image and completely put it in some other different vCenter altogether. And use of single image across the cluster. So this is not supported again, and vLCM provides you that opportunity of managing the cluster using the single image. REST API is also supported in vLCM, wherein Update Manager is lacking that support. And a quick snapshot of deliverables using which you can perform your ESXi install, upgrade, and you also have customize option. Now you can avoid this customization which is provided by OEM vendors because you can create your own custom image now using vLCM. Now we'll talk about some of the best practices using some of the typical topologies which customer uses it. So one is your external PSC. PSC is nothing but platform service controllers. We know, let's say an example, you have two platform service controllers behind a load balancer, and you have one virtual center server pointing to it. Now, once you upgrade your virtual center from 6x to 7.0, you have to make sure you are decommissioning all your platform services controller. Basically, you power off your platform service controller, decommission using CMSSO util command. One example I have just shared. And then after decommissioning, you also have to decommission VIP. VIP is nothing but your the IP of your load balancer, because you will end up you will always register your endpoints with the IP of the VIP, which is the virtual IP of your load balancer. And then when it comes to VCHA consists of 3 nodes. We all know active, passive, and the witness node. Make sure all your nodes were healthy always before performing any upgrade of VCHA node. The service is up and running, and then you have to destroy the VCHA. Make it before that you can also always try a failover also to make sure VCHA is up and running, and destroy it, perform an upgrade, and then reconfigure your VCHA later. Then when it comes to the linked mode, it is very important how many ever PSCs and virtual centers you have, take concurrent backup always. At the same level, you can always use the file-based backup and restore, which is the native backup restore solutions provided in the vCenter server. Because if you take the backups at the different levels and they are all together in the federation, when you try to upgrade or try to restore one node, it can create some replication issues. So taking backup all together is very important. Then if you have two different vCenter servers and different domains, if you wanted to join together, like let's say you have acquired some company and that company is using a different SSO domain altogether, and now they are part of your company, and then you want to merge them. So you can use the domain repoint option and create a link between both the vCenter servers. If you have air gap network, as my colleague Shweta mentioned, you can always go ahead patching your vCenter server using fp.iso or update report.zip, wherein you can create your own a patch link and then patch repo and use that, and you don't have to go to the external world. So basically you can avoid the online patching. Online patching can be avoided in that. Same for ESX. Before upgrading or after upgrading, you should never do out of band patching. Like for example, you have one WIB in ESX, you wanted to upgrade it to the next level. Don't do that. Always do your vSphere environment patching using the official vSphere release itself. And then custom certificate. Everyone will be using machine SSL certificate, and they'll be using some Microsoft or some other vendors for replacing their certificate. So all your machine SSL certificate has to be registered properly with every endpoints. So to do that, you can always use this tool called LS Doctor, which is Lookup Service Doctor. Sometime what happens, your replacement process is not good. In that moment, it can be possible, or one or two endpoints are not updated with proper certificate. That could create any future upgrade issues or some replication or some stale entries. You can always use this LS Doctor tool, which is async, which is not part of your release or vCenter service. You can always download. This is the KB, and then run it before performing your upgrade, so that it will tell you, okay, if you have any stale entries, if you have any replication issues and all. Yeah, these are some basic general best practices. We highly recommend everyone to do it, follow it. I'm sure everyone is doing it, but keep in mind, solution interop is one thing. For example, we today morning in general session we declared about 8.0. So whenever you're going to upgrade 8 to 8.0, your environment, check on this solution interop. You have second party, third party solutions. You could have some backup solution. You could have some monitoring tool. Are those supported when it comes to vSphere 8 or vSphere 7? Right? So look out for the interop matrix which is available publicly. Then product upgrade sequence. Your environment, your data center could have multiple products, right? It could have VR suites, it could have NSX, it could have SRM, you have vSphere. So what sequence I should use to upgrade? So the typical one which you always which is recommended is your VR suite followed by SRM, then NSX, then vCenter server, and then ESX, and then VMware tools and virtual machine hardware. So, and it all depends what products you have in your machine. Go through this product upgrade sequence which is available in this KB. Third is your hardware compatibility. Now you are using an hardware. Now if you go to 8.0 or 7.0, will my hardware support? Is there a hardware device deprecation which is available and which is there, and I'm just trying to upgrade? The upgrade might work, but post upgrade you may end up in some issues, and which is not desirable, right? So it's good to before planning your upgrade, look at the hardware compatibility guide. Then we always support N-2. For example, if you are upgrading to vSphere 7.0, your minimum supported version is 6.5. You cannot upgrade from 6.0 to 7.0 version. So N-2 support has to be kept in mind. Then out of band we already discussed. Resource availability is very important thing. We have seen customers wherein upgrade fails because either the ESX version, ESX on which we are trying to upgrade to, that doesn't have proper space available in it. So look at the space. You can always do quick commands to check out whether your disk has, you have a proper space in your disk or not before performing your upgrade. And configuration, your DVS switches, your host profile, as I mentioned, has to be minimum 6.5 to go to 7.0. If you are following N-2 below that, it will fail. So basically, if your DVS is 6.0 version, it will fail if you're trying to upgrade to 7.0. It says you are using an out of support DVS version or host profiles. Then by default, we enable TLS. By default, we enable TLS 1.2. 1.1 and 1.0 is disabled. That is for security reasons. Try not to enable it unless any of your third-party softwares are mandating you to enable TLS 1.0. Otherwise, stick to TLS 1.2, which is highly recommended. Yeah, this is some basic general practice. You can just go through it. Release note is something which you should look out for the resolved issue section, and the known issues section. These two sections are very important release notes. And then you have back in time KB, which says you cannot upgrade. For example, you are in 6.x and your vSphere release date is August, and you are trying to go to 7.0, which is released on April. So basically that creates an back in time. So you cannot upgrade that way. And DNS, NTP are very common. We should always make sure every node in your environment is DNS configured and NTP configured. APBR, one important thing. If you are taking a backup, of, let's say, vSphere 7 update 1, you can always restore using vSphere 7 update 1 build only. You cannot use vSphere 7 update 2 build to restore a backup which is taken at vSphere update 1. Just to summarize, we have discussed about some LCM terminologies, and then we also talk about some flexibilities what we have in LCM, and with that flexibility, some confusions which can create, because a lot of options can create some confusions. We also discussed about vLCM, which will help you for seamless ESXi upgrade experience, and we recommend to use vLCM images. Then we also talk about some of the best practices of using some of the topologies. With that, we would like to close this discussion, and we are happy to take some questions if you have outside of this discussions. Thank you, everyone. That was it.